Hello, goddesses.
Oh,
Happy goddess chat. Happy Wednesday.
yes. Or if you're watching this on YouTube,
Or yeah, if you're on
happy
YouTube, it's
Monday.
now. It's now. Whatever you what
The logistics of technology. We have it all worked out.
well, yeah, we live in the present and the future.
Exactly.
Oh, what is time?
You're right.
Anyway,
Right.
yeah.
So we are in Florida here. We are we've decided to skip over spring. It has been very hot over the last few days. But
Well, where you are, where I'm here in Florida, it's a
not
little less hot. Yeah, we're a little more springy, but yes, winter
fun.
is gone.
It's gone. That is the point here.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, so we are working with the goddess Eostre this month, and we introduced her to you last week. And this week we are inviting you to begin to create a sacred space to work with her, an altar. So as we've talked about in previous chats, altars are all about creating a sacred space to work this magical energy that this goddess is representing, which is new beginnings, planting new seeds, springtime. These are some of the high level themes. And so we want to talk about things you can do to help create that sacred space for working with her. Paige, what are your thoughts on altar?
Well, yeah, I think creating altars are a lot of fun, and especially when I can go through the things that I have, numerous crystals and images. You have just all these things tucked away, and just discovering, oh, I can use this, and oh, I can use that, and then maybe finding a little something extra that you can use. But for spring and celebrating new beginnings, I much like love, that's fun to decorate. But it's I posted some of the things that you might want to think about in celebrating the goddess of this month, Eostre, and that would be eggs, a basket, seeds, flowers,
Mhm.
um, even pastel colors, pastel candles, things to
Mm.
kind of remind you of spring. Of course, our lovely goddess Shannon has already posted what she's put together. She's the goddess of altars and paintings. She's quite a knack for putting those things together. And in I went in and bought tulips today, little
Mm.
miniature tulips. So I'm excited to put those on my altar and gather together some things. I found a beautiful egg that my mother had
Oh,
given me, and that's one of the last little things that I have special uh, from her. And it's I'm going to put that in a little nest, and I don't know. It's really, you know what, being outside. I was telling you before we started recording that I've been, now that the weather is nicer and spring is springing, I want to spend time out on our back patio that we've spent so much time putting together, and it was nice to sit there, and I'm just looking up in the trees and these birds just in waves
mm.
flying around. And I mean, it was just like the nature waking up and coming out after being dormant, and it's just that energy, and it's just been glorious. So that's almost been my altar
Yeah.
lately, is just to sit there in nature and see things waking up and beginning again and all of that. Yeah. So, but I did want to hear about your new beginnings and your setting sacred space, because you do that so well. And you have a new backdrop that I'm to tell everybody about. So where
Yeah,
are you and what are you doing?
right. So I will say that March has always been a time where I definitely seem to something new spaces, new programming. Like I do find that right around March time, I tend to have like things that happen during this time for me. And this year, I have taken on a new studio space to see private clients and do small group kind of workshops. And it's in the same place that I was been working the last 2 years. However, it is upstairs. So there is definitely a interesting shift in the vibration, just being on a third level, um, closer to the sun. It's very warm in here. But so this space, I have been over the last about 4 days putting in, supplies and furniture and really, envisioning how can I maximize this space to meet the need of all of the services that I offer. And I do feel like I have found my way there. And interestingly enough, this tapestry here was the first find in beginning the process of creating the space. And my son's girlfriend actually found it, and she was like, "What do you think of this?" And I was like, "Oh, that's perfect." And then it was interesting because as I started purchasing, the things that were going to go into the space, intuitively, I just was leaning towards blues and whites. And that's not actually my normal go-to in the past with creating a sacred space for my working my magic. But it's very clear and evident that I am working with that palette in this space, because so many of the things that I picked up just started matching. And once I started observing that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna follow that flow.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
and what's ultimately become this workspace for me is like, I don't want to go home tonight. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to be here. It feels so good. But my intention when I put out that I was wanting, it wasn't even that I was putting out that I wanted space. It was that I said to the universe, if I'm supposed to have a space again, because the last space I had, I felt like it had met all of these like perfect little notes of what I wanted in a workspace, because I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And so I've worked in so many different spaces, and my practice
Mm-hmm.
has evolved, and the services I offer have evolved. And so these last, 20 months or so have been really about resetting my mindset around my work and creating connections with other people to help me grow as a practitioner. And so this space, as I have said it, is to house the magic that that the divine wants to work through me into this community, and into working with people that are called to work with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's not all I'm doing, so it doesn't need to feel like I have to be here all the time, right? But everything that I place into a space is about raising the vibration to support whatever it is that the vision is. And so I really feel like where I am in my practice right now, what has manifested into being was
Mm-hmm.
manifested being because Spirit said, okay, it's time. Because Spirit kept showing me, like I moved into my friend's room in June 2020, and just worked a few hours a week in her space, and proceeded to do that over this this time. And I'd be here and I would have these visions of a space that I'm in that allows me to do everything. And I was like, well, I just closed my space. Like, what
Why do I have another?
and I would keep seeing it and I would keep seeing it. And so then I decided about 3 weeks ago to stop and look at a space that was not right for me. And I didn't know it until I looked at it, but I was like, nope, this isn't for me. And so I was like, well, maybe I'm just not supposed to have a space. And then like 5 days later, I got this email from my friend and she was like, there's a space available. And I'm like, okay. And so everything that I had envisioned, everything that I had requested or stated that affirmed that that's what I wanted to have in a space if I was going to have another space, this room has all of it.
Mm-hmm. And what I love is that you're embracing those changes that you hadn't expected, like the colors and the amount of light that's in there, because you're used to more of
I usually have a
little muted, yeah, exactly. And then I'm just thinking of the energy of the color blue and that throat chakra energy, that communication, that channel that you want to be now. And clearly you have other colors and elements and all that. You've got the fairy element with the lights and things. And you just representing the magic that you are. In fact, I'm just going to mention the podcast that you and I recorded and I put out a few days ago. I had to laugh because when I was listening back to it, we must have used the word magical 50 times in that 15 minutes of conversation. It's like, and I'm not apologizing for that, because everything about that experience was magical, and you do bring that into your space. And I'm excited for this new thing. And you just keep reinventing as you go along.
I think that is I do believe that is one of the what's the word I want to use here? The benefits is the only word that's coming to mind, but it's not really what I mean. But one of the benefits of being a Gemini is I'm like, okay, let's adapt. Okay, let's adapt. Okay, let's adapt. It's like, okay, the wind is moving. Where do I need to go now? Like, I'll just adapt. And I
go with the flow.
I have been told that before, that
well, it's a good lesson in non-attachment. And
right, it is such a good lesson in non-attachment.
And then I mean, it's hot in Central Florida right now, and it's probably going to get hotter, and you may need fans or something. Who knows?
I do have a fan, and I do have some other ideas to help take the warmth down a little bit. But at the same time, I don't need to be.
No, but you'll adapt. No, you work. And it's not the only space that you're going to be working in. I mean, you do wonderful work out in a farm, and then you've got a beautiful yoga studio where you're teaching. Yeah. So you're just
not to mention, dun, dun, dun.
Oh, that's right. Say it.
Yeah. Well, we haven't announced it yet, but
okay. Well,
your eyes out. There is a retreat being planned for
international
here. So so many magical things, so many amazing opportunities. And truly it was the moment that I said yes to this space that spirit was like, all right. Whew. And I was like, what happened? So when we talk about your ability to manifest, and that's what this goddess energy is helping us do, is to create, right? It's new beginnings. It's creating something new. And throughout all of my years of doing this work, the more and more that I honor the divine process, and the more and more that I release my attachments to the outcome of my intentions, that I set them and then I release them and I allow them to come to me when they're supposed to, how they're supposed to, with whom they're supposed to, it is mind-blowing. It is
Mhm.
mind-blowing how much easier my life is when I'm doing it that way versus when I'm attempting to force it or will it to be.
Right.
So all of these
Mhm.
things that we talk about in these goddess chats or through, our posts, we have to do this work. We're doing this work just right alongside of you.
Yes, we are. And we
Grateful,
draw
grateful.
from,
Yeah.
yeah, and we draw from the energy of our sister goddesses and what you're doing. And uh, we kind of, we co-create all of that we're doing here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything is a co-creation, whether it's with myself and the divine, with myself, the divine, and someone else. It's all a co-creation. And that was the message I received loud and clear several years ago. It's all about collaboration, co-creation,
Mhm.
and recognizing that even when it's just you as working as the channel, you are co-creating with spirit. So
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
grateful, grateful, grateful. Like I can't even, I don't even feel like that word is enough to express how I feel right now
I get it. I
on
get it.
so many levels. So grateful to my husband and my son for, you know, rearranging our household so that I could have a space to work out of in our home. To, my friend letting me use her space, to, the opportunities that have been open to me
Mhm.
at a couple of different studios and through the nonprofit that I'm working with. It's just, and then not even, and then we go further out and I have a couple of other people that have said, hey, I want to co-create with you. And then my co-creations with Paige, my co-creations with Sue, like there's so much abundance. There's so much abundance. And I am tremendously grateful, and also having to make sure that I am minding my self-care, because I will say that this last 7 days of my life have been nonstop go. And I'm ready for Thursday this week to come so that I can take my day off and
We talked about in our new moon circle last Wednesday about washing our feet and doing this, because I did not know Pisces, one of the channels is, or whatever is the foot, is the feet. And anyway, so it was suggested you do this foot bath and all this stuff. I'd been doing that every night ever since that. Like sometimes twice a day, I've been dipping my feet in the just like doing this foot bath ritual, just
and
because
that makes sense. It's water.
yeah. And but it's just
Waters.
that element of self-care. It's just like my
Yeah.
feet just really need tending to. It just was it was pretty funny. But yeah, I would love to see what you all are putting together in your altars or your sacred space, and how you're
And to
putting
round
this
that all
together.
out, your altar can be, 2 items on your bedside table all the way up to a room. Like it's
Yeah,
really whatever it is that you feel called to do. Bring that into your life, into your practice. So
exactly. Thank you all for joining us,
thank
and
you.
we look forward to more magic.
Woo, woo, woo.
Woo-hoo.
Yes, God.